Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're learning Masechet Ksuvas daf Chaf Beis. We're going to begin on the bottom of Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, 3 lines to the bottom. The Gemara says as follows: Amar Rabbi Abba Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav Shloisha Shiashvu L'Kaimas Ashtar. Let's say you have 3 individuals that were sitting, and their purpose was to verify that this document, in fact, is a valid document. They kar arer al echamihen. However, there ends up being some type of complaint about the third person regarding this person's status. So ad shlu chasmu me'idin alav. So until they sign it, they could actually testify about the third person that he's actually an aid kosher, that he's actually a good aid. However, and then afterwards they could sign it. However, mishachasmu, once they already signed it, they're considered to be noigen be'edus, because the fact that they signed the same document as someone who's apostle, maybe that's the reason why they're going to say he's good. Therefore, in me'idin alav b'chaisim, you're no longer allowed to testify about the individual who's in question to sign it. So the Gemara says that this Ardaman. What exactly is this referring to? If the complaint or the rumor is that this person is a thief, as we continue to Chaf Beis Amud Aleph, trey ninhu. So you have 2 witnesses saying that he's not, these other 2, and then obviously you have people who are saying that he is. Says Rashi, Ki Amri lo Gazal, when those 2 people say that he's not a theft, a ganav, so in that case that's trey. V'lo is kasher b'hachi. We're not going to say that that's enough to say he's kosher. To kamel no come on b'pirk, and we'll see later on Daf Chavav, the error pachas mishtayim. The fact that there was an error, it's not just some stam complaint. There was actually 2 witnesses that are saying that this person is a goslin. So now you have 2 other people saying, "Oh, it's good." So how would that work anyway? Even if it was before the signatures, it's trey, and he shouldn't be believed, and he shouldn't be kosher. So the Gemara says, okay, let's say it has something to do testifying that, let's say, for example, he's an Eved, and we know an Eved is puzzled to Din and to Adis, and we learn that out from a Kabbalah Chomer from Isha. This is brought down in Perik Chayvel in Baba Kama. So if that's the case, so Gil Milsab Almahu, says Rashi, Mishichasmu, when he signs it, Amaya Ein Me'idin Alav. Why can't he? Why aren't they allowed to testify? My chshad noigeh be'edus. What's the whole notion of being noigeh be'edus? Davar zeh srichin hein levayer, davar ha'isel legaloisu. It's not something in which it's talking about, is he a good person, is he a bad person? It's the mitzias. Is he someone who's an eved or not? That's something which people are going to find out about anyway. Shivduku acharav ad shivor hadavar. Ve'ein edusin shel elu talei b'hagadasan ne'enu elu megilui davar ba'alma. It's not really that we're going to be listening to their testimony. It's just going to be, you know what, let's investigate and we'll find out the truth. And once we find out the truth, is he in fact a slave? So then he's not able to be an aid. So why would it make a difference if they signed it or didn't sign it? So how do we understand why there's this difference? So the truth is, it's talking about a case where he was accused of being a ganav. V'kaimri, so the question is that it's trey. So then why would we ever believe them, even if they didn't sign? Hani adinan be de'avad tshuva. So very interesting. They said, you know what? It's not trey. I'm not disagreeing that he was a gazlan, but he's about tshuva. And therefore, because he's about tshuva, therefore he's allowed to sign. Rabbi Abba Shemieli Lav Rabbi Abba bin Akko. If it wasn't from him, Shechachta, I would have forgotten. Gimel Shiyashul Kaimas Shtar. You have 3 people that are sitting to verify Shtar Umeis Echamehen. Now in this situation, one of them died before writing the actual document. So Srichin Lemichtav, you need to write B'mais of Tlas in front of 3 people, Havina, that we were 3. V'chad le sohi, and so I'm saying one of us is not here. So it should be explicitly mentioned in the document that that's what happened. Amar Rav Nachman Rabbi Yitzchak v'ikasa be'shtar denan nafak lekadamana beidina su loitzarach. If you write that this shtar came out from such and such a beis din, then you do not need to do anymore. It says Rashi, the lo mikri beidina batzer metlasa, because we know that a beis din has to have 3 people, so therefore that would be sufficient. Avdil beis din chatzavhu, maybe it's not really 3 because it could be considered a brazen beis din. Who could mishmul diar mishmul shnayim shadona dinim din no shnikra beis din chatzav. 2 people could actually be create a judge, a court, but that's considered to be a beis din chotzav. So the question is, how do you know? Just because it says it's a beis din, lav dafka, does that mean it's a really 3 people? The ksiv bei beidina de rabana ashi. It's specifically mentioning this beis din. V'dilma rabana be Rav Ashi g'd Shmuel Sibirilhu. The ksiv bei v'omer lana rabana ashi. He told us to verify this star, and therefore it must be that it was done properly without question. Question 5. Gimel shiyash l'kayim as a star. V'karol ir al echad mehem. There's a complaint. Until they signed it, me'idin alav, those other 2 people can testify about him, and then that's fine. Not after they signed. So mahani edus hashnayim lahachshir yosim hashnayim hamorim. Why are these 2 better than the other 2? Madu yevshir lahamid b'mir pekam mishpacha. Why don't we say it's pekam mishpacha? So he said, because they're really not arguing, but this group is saying that I know he's a Gazlan, but he did tshuva, so we can't consider him like that. He's really kosher. And we can't mention about mishpacha because that's something in which is a gilui milsa be'alma, and even after they would have signed it, they should still be able to do so because it's not really on their words that the testimony means anything. Let's see the next Mishnah. Mastisa. A woman says, I was a married woman, which makes her usher to the whole world. And then she clarifies and says, Grushani. However, now I'm divorced. So Nemenes, she's believed because of the concept we've been saying all along, because she ushered herself by saying, I was an Ashes Ish. But now she's clarifying it because otherwise we would have just assumed, of course, she's allowed to get married to whoever she wants. We didn't know that she was an Ashes Ish. She's the one that volunteered that information. However, we already have witnesses that we already know she's an Ashes Ish. And she says, I'm divorced. She's not believed. She needs to actually have some type of a proof to verify that in fact she's divorced. Giving her a get, there must be Aiden that was at the part of the beis din, something. For that matter, the next part of the Mishnah says, Arminish Beisi Utahirani. She says that I was in captivity among Ovdi Kachavim. However, they did not have bia with me. They did not defile me. Now again, Nehemena, she's believed for the same reason. However, if let's say we already have witnesses to that effect, Viomeras, yeah, you're right, I was in captivity as those witnesses said. However, Tahirani enu Nehemenas. V'imishenises bo enim harzilo teitze. This is a difficult line which we're going to have to understand. That if let's say she was already married and then the witnesses came, so then lo teitze. And this Rashi says, the Gemara is going to explain a hey koi. What is this going on? Is it in the Reish of the Mishnah, of the Ashes Ish, or the case of the woman who was in captivity? How do we know min haTorah that this concept exists? So this is the man speaking about his daughter that she was married. La'isha, she was married. His daughter is married. Isha la'ish asra. So the fact she says this man is married to a woman. This woman is married to a man that asers her to everyone. And then he says hazeh. He specifies his note to him, and therefore hitira. So therefore she's mattering. So lamuli kra. So what is the purpose of this? Svarahu hu aser v'hu sharila. L'chari, you shouldn't even need this pasuk to tell us this concept because it's a double pashit, because he's the one asering, he's mattering. Ella ki isra, the whole purpose of that pasuk, which has to do with Moitzi Shemra, has nothing to do with Pesha Aser. Rather, it's like Rav Huna Marab. Yom Rav Huna Marab, and Nain L'Av Shenem and L'Aser as B'Tay Minatayra. How do we know that a father has the ability to aser his daughter with his word? Shnemar as B'Tay Nasati L'Ish Hazeh. Nasati L'Ish, period. So he's able to say that my daughter's married, and then she won't be able to marry anyone else. So Hazel Lamuli. Meboilu could Tana Rav Yoini. The Tana Rav Yoini, Yoina as B'Tay Nasati Ish Hazeh v'lo liyavam. What does that mean? So he only has the authorization to say that she's married to this person. V'lo yavam, says Rashi. Imhoiti shemra al nesui achiv. Shein hayavam nidoin kimoiti shemra li'onush b'mei kesef. That the din is, if there's a din of moiti shemra on the nesui achiv, on the brother, in that situation, the yavam cannot be judged like the din of moiti shemra to be punished mei kesef. So the whole din of moiti shemra is dafka on the actual marriage, but not on a case of a yavam. Tarabam. Based on our mission of a chazra, but then she retracts the Amar Panuya ani nemenes, and she says, I'm a Panuya, I'm not married. She's believed. How is that she's believed? She made herself usher by saying she's an Eishes Ish. She shouldn't be believed now to change her mind. So Rava Baravuna Kagain Shenasna Amal Talil. You're right. Normally, unlike our Mishnah is the clarification. I was married, now I'm not married. Here it is, I am married. And she says, no, I was wrong. I'm not married. So she's not going to be believed in that case. But if she's able to mention some type of plausible reason or excuse why she said that initially, then she is believed, and therefore she is free to marry whoever she wants. Tanemi hachi, Amr Eishes Ishani, I'm married. The chaz of Amr Panuya ni eno nemenas. She's not going to be believed. However, if she somehow explains, this is the reason why I said I was married. Why would she say that? For the following story. So you have this woman who's a very spectacular person, a beautiful woman. The Kaftzul Hebnei Adam, Lakache, of all these people constantly bothering her, constantly left and right, to court her, to marry her. So she said, I am married. Later on, she married someone. So what do you mean she was married? How could she accept Kedushin? So why did you originally say that you're married? Or I guess I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend. So I had people that came to me and they were not fit to me. They were not someone that I wanted to be with. So Amarti Mukadesha Sani. So I said it just to get them away from me. Now that I have good men that are really appropriate for me, I got married. So this is actually an example of what we were talking about. That if she could explain her reasoning why she said what she said initially, then she's believed. What if she says, I am impure? So again, mahu, is there a possibility of a matala there? So Amalei afbazu, also here. Im nas, as we continue to chaf beis and beis, if she would somehow produce for us a maltala devareha, some type of plausible reason why she said that she was tameya, then nemenes. For some reason over here it says a maltala, you can see on the side shaycha amad aleph, it says mashal v'tam lama amr techil mekadesh asani. Okay, so that's really shaycha on the amad aleph. So nemenes tanim minei arboim zin, and he learned it 40 times. Yafil hachi loy avad shmul uvda benafshe, but he still didn't actually do this. Tarabam. Shnaim Ormi makes. So this is going to carry us mostly for the rest of this daf. You have two witnesses that said that this man died. And then all of a sudden, Shnaim Ormi Lomes. So the question is, there's this woman who's married, and we don't know is her husband alive or dead. So as we saw in the end of Yevamos, that one witness is enough, and then she's Dayakum min Savan, she'll check and she'll get remarried. However, here, even though you have two people saying he died, you have two saying that he did not die. So therefore, because of that, we're not going to want her to get married, as we'll see. For that matter, Nisgarsh, let's say, Shnaim Ormin Nisgarsha, Shnaim Ormin Nisgarsha, Harizil Tinasev, Im Nises, Lo Teitze. So there's a tremendous chiddush. Similarly, if two people say she's divorced, two she's not divorced, so the chazaka is just like he's dead, he's not dead, is that she's a married woman, she's an Eishes Ish. And because of that, we don't want her to be Osham Tali Koi, and therefore we say she cannot get married. However, for some reason, it says that if she did get married, it's fine. She can remain married. We're not going to have her leave her new marriage. Rabbi Nachman bar Yosi Oimer, no, Teitze, she should certainly leave that marriage. Menachem bar Yosi V'Masa Yomer Teitze, when did I say she should leave her second marriage? Mizman Shibo Eidim. If the witnesses first came, Yachanises, because if the witnesses came and said, you're still married, then she had no business getting remarried, and therefore she has to leave that marriage. Which is again a tremendous chiddush, that even though, okay, fine, she got married and then the witnesses came, but the fact that the witnesses came, that should not, you should maybe think she should not remain married. But nonetheless, they both hold lo teitze. So michte, let's try to understand this. After all, train who habaleh b'ashem tolikoi. It doesn't make any sense. Why would we say that if she's already married, fine, lo teitze, she just have to leave the marriage? What does that mean? Well, she's ba'ashem tali. Every time she's with her husband, is the possibility that, in fact, she's an eshes ish. So Amar Sheshis, no. She is married to one of the witnesses that says with all certainty that her husband died, or that she's divorced. So he goof b'bashim toli kaim. Okay, so the guy, her husband, is sure that he's not sinning, but she doesn't know. Bo'meres barili. If she says I'm bari, it's in my heart I know that my husband's dead or I got divorced, so therefore in that situation, lo teitzi, she does not have to leave. Rabbi Yochanan, shnayim omer meis. So we have the following case: two witnesses said that the man died. Shnayim omer lo mes. And then you have two people that say that he did not die. Now we saw above that if they got married, lo teitze, and here it says harizu lo tinase. They should not get married l'chatchila dim nises lo teitze. But if they did get married, they do not have to leave. Okay, that's one part. And then we have the following case. That's talking about death. But for some reason, again, it's a suffix about whether or not she's an eshes ish. But nonetheless, when it comes to is she divorced or not, harizo tinase, same thing. She should not get married l'chatchila im nises teitze. But for some reason, when it comes to this situation, she has to leave the marriage, which is a little bit difficult. Ma'ishna reisha, ma'ishna seifa. How come in the reisha, if she did get married when there was a question whether her husband died, we said, you know what, stay in your second marriage. However, when it comes to a suffix, whether or not she was divorced, and she's married, she gets remarried, she has to leave. Why? This should be the same problem to suffix eshes ish. What's the difference when it comes to Misa, that we're more lenient, she can remain married? So we have a few answers. Omer Baya, Tirguma be'ed echad. He says that this is really not talking about two witnesses, but rather it's one witness. So the Gemara says, Eid echad omer meis. When one witness says that your husband died, we know himnu rabbanan kebeitrei. There is a leniency because we're dealing with the possibility of neguna. So therefore, the rabbanan considered this one witness to have the same strength as though there's actually two. V'kedeula, di'arma'ula kol makam shehamina Torah eid echad. Whenever the Torah believes one witness, like the case that your husband died, hari kan shtaim. It's like there's actually two people saying, and therefore, for that reason, we're more lenient when it comes to that. That then does not apply when it comes to Misa. When it comes to Grusha, it only applies to Misa. So the Gemara says, "V'haini karma lo meis." So this other guy who says lo meis, it's not 2 against 2. It's really 1 against 1. But the one is ki'ilu, like has the strength of 2. So now the second person, this other person comes and says, no, the man didn't die. Havli chad ve'ein devar b'shel echad b'makom shnayim. It's a tremendous chiddush. That even though there's really b'metzias only one person saying your husband died, but because it has the strength of 2 people, it's ki'ilu like there's 2. And therefore, the one person who says that lo meis is a 2 against 1. So if that's the case, yihachafil echad nami. So in that case, l'chatchil, we should allow her to get married because you have 2 witnesses. Ki'ilu, like you have 2 witnesses saying that he died. You should distance yourself or remove yourself this crookedness of the mouth. You distance yourself from the mistaken of the lips. So l'chatchil doesn't look great, even though again, technically it's all right. And therefore, if you did get married, lo teitze when it comes to Misa. Seifa, however, when we're talking about the Seifa, about divorce, Eid echad omer niskarsh, vid echad omer lo niskarsh. You have one against one. Tirvaihu be'eshes ish kamasadi. Both of them are agreeing that at one point she was married. Bahadi karmen niskarsha havelechad v'indavar shel echad b'ochem shtayim, which is beautiful. It's the same shot. They're both giving edus that this woman was married. So you have two witnesses saying, yes, she was married. The question is she still married? There's only one person that says that she's not married, but there's two of them that say that she was married. So therefore, we're going to continue to establish her as though she is married. Therefore, if she gets remarried, Teitze. So that's answer number one. That was the opinion of Abaye. We're not talking about one against one, but rather you have two witnesses against two. Again, the question is, if it's two against two, so then why do we make a difference between divorce, that she has to leave the second marriage? When it comes to Misa, she doesn't. So the Gemara says like this. He understood and established the words of Rav Menachem Rav Yossi when it comes to Gerushin, that she has to leave. So v'lo Rabba Misa, but not by Misa. So the question is by Taima. So Misa in Yechoila Machach Shtoi. When it comes to her husband dying, she is not able to contest it. She could not contradict it, says Rashi. Im Yavu Balo. Let's say her husband physically shows up. Ein Yechol Loimer. She cannot say Mesata. Nah, you're not alive. You're dead. Hi, I'm actually breathing and talking to you. Obviously, I'm not dead. I'm alive. So she has no ability to say anything. Hilkach ilav debari la shemes mirtzav loy mintzava. Shemens chiddush. But this is what it's saying, that because she knows if her husband walks through the door, there's nothing she could say. He's obviously alive. So therefore, the fact that we had two witnesses that said mace, two that said low mace, she's going to be extremely careful to make sure it's fact that her husband died before she gets married. However, Gerushin Yuchayla Mechachshtay. Even if he shows up, she can say, I don't care, you divorced me, you gave me a get. And even if whether it's true or not, but she has more flexibility to say that. In fact, the Gemara Micha Fitza Kuli Hai. Would a woman really demonstrate such levels of chutzpah? If a woman says to her husband, Girashtani, that you have divorced me. So nemenes. So in that case, we believe her. Why? Because a woman wouldn't speak so brazenly to her husband to say such a thing. So hanimili heichadaleka edim, there come a silent. The only time that we say this is if there's no witnesses. If she has witnesses to support her, then then in fact she will be brazen. In other words, you're right. If she is just speaking straight without any witnesses, maybe she wouldn't have said such a statement. What do you mean you divorced me? But she has witnesses that are saying nisgarsha. There's two witnesses saying that she was divorced. So fine, there's two witnesses as low nisgarsha. But the fact that he shows up and starts arguing with it, she has that support of other of these witnesses, and therefore because of that, maybe she will in fact show this element of chutzpah. Question 6. So shtayim omer meishtayim lo mes v'im nises lo teitze. So when it comes to misa, we say she doesn't have to leave. However, when it comes to the gerushin, teitze, she does have to leave. So maishna misa megerushin abaya v'rava, and that's for 2. So the first answer we said is be'ed echad bayri, but misa, where the Chachamim believe this one person like 2, and therefore it's 2 against 1, and therefore that's the reason why it's believed that he died. Therefore, certainly b'diavad, if she's already married, lo teitze. Ma'ashein kain, when it comes to gerushin, where they're both saying that she's an Eishes Ish, therefore again she would have to leave. Or Rav Yochanan Davar of Diomer Teitze begerushin. Why does she have to leave? Because she could easily contradict it. So she may not necessarily look into the matter to before she gets remarried. So therefore, teitze. When it comes to your husband showing up about Misa, you have no words. There's nothing you could say to possibly contradict it because he's alive. So because of that, you're going to be more careful, and therefore we say lo teitze, she doesn't have to leave the marriage. Ravasi back in the Gemara Amar Kagoin the Amri Edim Achshav Mace Akshav Girsha. So if you have witnesses that say Akshav Mace Akshav Girsha, right now he died. No, it's today he died, or today he got divorced. So Misa Leikla Vrura. When it comes to Misa, it's difficult to explain, says Rashi. Im Amru Tava B'mayim. Let's say he drowned in an ocean, or he got devoured by a lion. We can't really clarify if it's true or not. We don't know. We weren't there. So therefore, we don't want her to get married. But if she gets married, we're not going to have her leave, just like the Rabbanan said. Fine. And again, assuming that she married one of those witnesses. However, so it's hard to be a mavar. Gerushin ikul havrure. When it comes to gittin, we can investigate the Amrin law. Im isa dahachi havi. If in fact it's true, achsil and gitich. Show us your get. And the fact that you produce it or you don't produce the get, l'chayra would be enough for us to be able to know what the maskana is. All right, let's continue. Tan Rabbanan. Shnaim oimrim niskacha, shnaim oimrim lo niskacha. So here, it's not question if she got divorced. There's two witnesses that she's married. So really, both of them, everyone knows she was once a panuya. The question is now, is she married? Harizu lo tinase. So it says she's not allowed to get married. Rashi says la'acher. She cannot marry someone else because you have two people saying that she's married. However, if she does marry someone else, she doesn't have to leave. Shnaim oimrim nisgarsha. Like we said before, two people say she's divorced. Two say she's not divorced. She should not get married to someone else. Which is what we already said. When it comes to Gerushin, then she has to leave that first marriage. When it comes to Kedushin, and she marries a second guy, she does not have to. As we continue, Chav Gimel Aleph. So Ma'ishna Seifa. How come in the ratio, when it comes to Kedushin, we say, yeah, you could stay in your new marriage. But when it comes to Gerushin, not. So Omer Abaye, says that Targuma be'ed echad, as we saw before. Just like we saw before, over here too, there's one witness. Eid echad omer niskadsha, ve'ed echad omer lo niskadsha. One said she's married, one she says not. So Tevayu be'panui k'masadi. Both of them are admitting that at one point she was a single girl. Behind Kamer niskadsha, you have one guy that says she's married. And therefore, we're not going to rely on that. We're just going to assume she's a panuya. And therefore, if she decides to get married to someone else, she is. We're going to say lo teitze. However, seifa edechad omer niskarsha shnei ve'edechad omer lo niskarsha, as we saw before. One says she's divorced, one not. Both of them agree, at least at one point, she was a married woman. The one person who says she's now divorced, which is the same thing we said before, which is why, if she gets remarried, Teitze, she has to leave. And the Rav Ashi Oimer L'oilam Trei Trei Ve'epuch. Really, it's not a case of chad v'chad. We're talking about trei v'trei, but switch it around. What does that mean? Look at Rashi. Bereisha, when it comes to kedushin, imni says teitze. However, seif imni says lo teitze. So why is that? So shnaim oimrim. So you have two people that say that rinuha shniskacha. We saw her get married. We saw it. Shnaim oimrim lo rinuha. Two of them say we did not see shniskacha. So we don't want them to get married to someone else. And Yimni says teitze. So in that case, we want her to go because you have eyewitnesses that actually saw her getting married. So pshita, lo rinuha in uraya. I never saw her get married. What do you mean? Maybe you just weren't invited to the wedding. So how is that really going against what the other two are saying? Lotzricha did dari b'chatzer echad. They all live in this tiny little bungalow colony. If let's say she got married, Kala Isla, I would have heard about it. Kala Isla Milsa. It is possible that some people do in fact get married in private. So therefore, because of that, yeah, maybe she actually did get married, and that, or maybe she did get married, or maybe she didn't get married, right? So therefore, because of that, we're going to say teitze. However, seifa shnaim oimrim rinuha shnisgarsha, shnaim oimrim lo rinuha shnisgarsha. You have two that say I saw her get divorced. The other one said no, I didn't see it. You don't have to leave the second marriage. we're not going to rely on these people who says, oh, wait a minute, I never saw her get divorced. No, we have 2 eyewitnesses that saw the divorce. Now she can get remarried, and therefore, if she gets remarried, she's not going to have to leave that marriage. So, my kamash, that it's possible that she got divorced. So, when it comes to Kedushin, people do it privately. When it comes to Gerushin, because the purpose of it now, because Kedushin, I'm marrying this one guy, so I don't need to publicize it. When it comes to Gerushin, I want people to know that I'm divorced, so this way I'll be able to maybe find someone else to marry. Okay, so because it's possible that happened, so therefore, again, when it comes to Gerushin, we will assume she was divorced, and therefore if she gets remarried. Based on that, she'll not have to leave the marriage. Okay. We're going to stop there. Obviously, we went pretty far. TA 6. Isha she'amr tameani, v'chazav amr tahirani he'im nemenas. So is she going to be believed if she first says, I'm tamea, then I'm tahira? So as we saw already, that it's all tali im nasta malto devra nemenas. That if she's able to, again, show some reasoning why she said what she said, so then in that situation, she will be believed. That was TA 6. All right, let's see, 1 second. Okay, maybe, I'm not sure if we did that one. I'm just going to skip it for now. TB 7. Which sounds very similar to what our Gemara is. Adkan.